So friends, today we're going to break down the gameplay of a game made by my good friend Rinaz.
This game is a recreation of the very popular Roblox game Dead Rails. It appeared on the Roblox platform 2 months ago. As soon as we saw it was popular, we decided to make a clone. We made the clone in 2 to 3 weeks, as quickly as possible, and released it. Now we're working on an update, gradually improving it. The difference from the original is that it has multiplayer, and there, players play in lobbies of 4 people. Right now we're trying to fully improve it as a single-player game. Multiplayer later, but do you already have an idea of where you want to take the gameplay next? Yes. The very first thing is, we need to improve the first day retention rate. There are huge drop-offs in the funnel. The player spawns, buys something, and only 42% actually launch the train. From spawning to the first train launch, it's 42%.
Does the player already have power at that point?
No, they have fuel right away. They have fuel and also those extra coals as well, which are important. What percentage of players actually buy an item before the train? 60% perhaps. From spawning to, let's say, buying a weapon, about 60%.
Are you talking about buying with in-app purchases or what? Or with soft currency? I was surprised the conversion is 60%.
With the coins that are in the shops, the items that are located in the shops on the right side of the map, 60% reach these items. After that, for example, 42% make it to the train, and then it goes further from there.
So is it already clear how to further develop the gameplay for the game? How can we help?
If you want to expand and scale your project and publish it, simply go to the Cast.ai website and fill out the publishing form. If you just want to monetize your game, go to the Cast.ai website and fill out the mediation form.
First, make a clone so that it's just like the original version, and then you can develop it even further, look for some truly killer features, and test out different variations. When you said that we made a clone, I wanted to ask, what exactly are you adding? That's why I put clone in quotes, because it's still far from being a true clone. Obviously, the people who come to play this game are those who played the original and are looking for some kind of development for themselves. And accordingly, a random player, someone like me, for example, since I'm not a Roblox fan, my kids had to explain to me what this game is and how to play it. I went in there and honestly didn't understand anything at all. I really couldn't do a single thing except just walk around. I was able to watch an advertisement. So from my perspective, my view is this. Either you think the clone is already good enough for you, and then if moving toward the original doesn't make sense, then you need to develop the FTUE and accordingly lower the entry barrier so that everyone who comes in understands what they're supposed to do there and how to do it. That's important because you've also made the mechanics very unconventional. For a long time, I didn't get it and just kept clicking everything, but nothing worked for me, that's it. Or, as I said at the beginning, you could simply move toward the original. That is to make a solid 5 or a strong 4+ clone of a good original game. And from there you can carefully choose your direction for further development. It just seemed to me that it's still a bit too early to give any specific advice about this game.
You picked up on that. Yeah, right. That's pretty much how I understood Rinaz's situation, so I deliberately didn't play the original. That is, so as not to give advice based on the original, because I think that Rinaz already knows exactly what to do next. I could have compared the ideas I came up with for further development with the original game, but just as a kind of mental exercise, as a thought experiment.
The question about competitors. So far, the only competitor I've actually seen, the only one I've found, is these guys. In fact, they released their game, apparently, not that long ago. What we can clearly see is that their rating is somewhat worse. So in terms of organic reach, you should, in theory, be able to easily outperform them. Their SDK is packed with the most features and stuff. I see that they have Pubmatic included, and they also have Apodial, which I personally wouldn't recommend adding at the initial stage. Another thing I noticed is Facebook gaming services. It's still unclear to me how necessary that really is, honestly. But it was released to play a little earlier than yours, but it's not the original either. It's also a clone, and you considered them as well.
I'm looking at everyone I can, checking out what they're doing with competitors.
Now they already have advertising. AppMagic, yes, released this new feature. You can see which stacks are being used by whom. Sometimes it's really useful.
Today, everything I showed you, dear viewers, those who are watching us, following us, and asking questions, we looked at using AppMagic. This is one of our partners that helps us analyze games in detail, as well as purchases and SDKs. It offers a lot of interesting features that are useful for absolutely all gaming and non-gaming projects. I highly recommend them. They're great guys. Reach out if you need a link.
I'll add a little. In fact, it's very important to work specifically with third-party analytics. Without third-party analytics, you simply can't build and create a large project capable of earning $50, $100, or even $200,000. AppMagic is one of the options that will give you information about SDKs and approximate metrics, and most importantly, you can find your growth points there.
Overall, of course, the first thing I really didn't understand here was that you have to hold down the button in order to interact at all. So I was tapping on the screen and nothing at all was happening. I kept trying to get into the shop for quite a long time. I kept pressing the lever on the train, in general really, just trying everything I could think of. Also because I had played Roblox once before, my perception of the game was kind of distorted. The first thing I thought was that I needed to refuel the train, because the first thing Pasha, my kid, told me was, "Dad, you need to refuel the train." So I went to refuel the train, and that's how I ended up here. First of all, I didn't see these things. You have to push them to the limit, and this part was completely unclear to me. Then I approached this counter, and only then did I realize, oh, that's the coal. It's just above the counter for some reason. I expected it to be placed in front of the counter, not positioned on top of it. I tried to buy it, so I kept tapping with my finger, tapping and tapping, but it wouldn't buy. Then it finally got purchased, but at that point, I realized I needed to hold the button. I'm not sure if you had to hold it in Roblox. I don't understand why you made the interface like that. I guess it's to prevent accidental purchases if someone buys something by mistake. Then the same thing happened with the lever. I went up to it, kept pressing and pressing, and then I just barely noticed that the button was spinning, that you had to wait, press, and hold it for a moment. Basically, that led me to... At first, I didn't even realize that you could start the train at all. I went to try to buy it, but couldn't, came back to the train and couldn't start it, watched 10 ads, and that's why only 40% managed to start the train, because they're not just actually trying to press that button to really click it. So maybe just try to remove this delay, and then most likely everyone will be able to go. However, I still think that refueling the train and the tutorial on how to refuel the train, at first it's actually kind of cool, and it can be interesting. By the way, Anton had a big comment about this, so maybe he'll share it with us.
But this sandbox game is about figuring things out on your own, so that's a bit less common here. Even with the tutorial, a lot is still left up to the player, so that they figure everything out themselves, and it's all more or less logically organized at the level. I'm not saying this because the time given to figure things out on your own is extremely stressful. I'll support Evgeny here. Every time I was just starting to really learn a new mechanic or understand what a particular button was for, I was shown an ad. So the reward I got from exploring the game was really truly overshadowed by the annoyance from the ads. I'll support Evgeny here. You really can actually try, honestly, to test disabling ads up to a certain point. There's no point.
Maybe for some countries. So, for example, for Brazil, Indonesia, and so on, there's probably not much point in it, really. But for a potentially paying audience, it certainly does make sense.
For potentially paying users, I would offer them the option to disable ads right after the interstitial.
Maybe. No, it's just that this kind of advertisement, I'm pretty sure it just completely ruins the retention rate immediately. Do it right away, immediately, and without delay, instantly. In this sense, I would consider carefully finding a more appropriate place to show it. Maybe after launching the train at some point, although that's also questionable.
Someone mentioned Ritus. Do you remember when you got it? It seems like it appeared, I think, after the train had already started moving. So basically, there's a suspicion that it pops up based on time, not a trigger. And that's actually my second important comment. This thing needs to be moved to a trigger, for example, right when the train starts moving. That's the moment when you're full of intrigue and hope, expecting the game to unfold, and you're already ready to move on.
Right now, it appears after you've gone through 2 locations. As soon as you reach the first save zone, this pop-up appears. Leave a rating.
Also, by the way, about there being no tutorials and having to figure things out in the sandboxes, I felt the same. When we started checking out things like grow a garden with the guys or something similar, we actually started by looking at competitors, just to see what they do. So we were looking at games in the store, downloading them, and honestly, there were parts where we just didn't get what to do, and here too, it wasn't clear what to do. No tutorial here or there. They were like, maybe there just aren't any tutorials, and I was like, well, maybe there really aren't. Then I go into Roblox, and there every game has a proper tutorial. It's clear where to go, what to do, everything is obvious.
How is it done? With arrows? Do you just actually follow the arrows?
Yeah, with arrows, an arrow appears showing you exactly where to go. A 3D arrow leads you.
Somewhere.
Yeah, you know, what questions do I have? Let me see. Look, the items for purchase are just lying on the floor. There are no prices or anything on them. You walk up and a Google Play purchase window pops up. Is that even allowed, or is it against Google's rules?
No.
I don't know. I did it as competitors.
Everyone does that now. So the item is just lying there, you walk up to it and get a pop-up saying, hey man, buy this. Is that what you mean?
No, there isn't even a window there. There's nothing, no window at all. There's no button to buy or to check the price. The purchase just pops up right away.
The main idea is to make it so you have to do as few actions as possible in order to buy the game.
You've convinced me.
And what's Rinaz's goal in multiplayer?
To make it to Mexico, you need to travel 80,000 meters. Right now, I'm thinking of adding this. A progress bar. There's already a progress bar that shows the way to the safe zone, so I could also add another one specifically for Mexico. Right now, the goal is to show as many ads as possible in the first session, in the first few days, because there's no retention. Day 7 to 30. If there is retention, of course, it makes sense not to bombard players with ads so much.
At this stage, the goal is to recoup about 80% of the money that was invested, aiming to recover this amount right at the very beginning on what is called Day 0. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you don't miss anything. Monetization case studies from mobile games.
Most likely with that amount of ads, you probably won't have a day 7.
Could you share what your initial development plans were before this call? Were you planning to make some kind of tutorial, some FTUE, and explain to the user what they need to do? Or what direction were you moving in at that particular moment, and what were your next planned steps?
A tutorial, yes, but how exactly should I make it? Evgeny says that right away, before getting on the train, the player needs to shop in the store. How do you show that properly? There are 4 stores, and the player needs to choose for themselves.
Guide the user with an arrow. Show them, go here, click here, hold this, then go there, then here. Now put this in the train, and now go. If you don't do this, you'll end up losing about 40% of your players. Honestly, I'm actually surprised that 40% of people even decide to start the train, but most likely, out of that 40%, 99.9% are those who played the original version and at least had some idea of what to do and which direction to go in.
Well, you see, actually, this is a game that is specifically designed for those who have already played the original just a bit. But again, this is something I honestly don't quite understand myself, and maybe I should ask, what do you think? How important is the online mode here, really? That's something we need to figure out.
It seems to me that if you start working on the multiplayer now, you probably won't have enough time to make it high quality before the original burns out and the hype dies down. So while there's still hype around these rails right now, you urgently need to finish what's missing for a proper game, at least from the original, even if it's just in solo mode, and then develop further according to the circumstances, because it'll still be in the game by then, since it'll still be riding the hype, and then you can start thinking about multiplayer. But again, multiplayer requires incomparable production costs.
You know, there's something I'd like to bring up about how the interface works in general. Is it the same way in Roblox too? Pretty much. But honestly, it just makes me so sick the way the inventory works there. Like, why is it, for example, you walk up to some item, let's say coal is lying there, you walk up to it. Why doesn't it just get picked up and go straight into your inventory? Why is all of this even necessary? To put it in your inventory, you have to click on the backpack. And to hold it in your hand, you simply press this button like hold, and then it just dangles right in front of you. It's just so, I don't know, wouldn't it be simpler if, say, you walked up to something on the ground, picked it up, and then went to where you needed to use it? You press a button, then click there, and it gets used or something like that.
I think this is because Roblox is a platform with limited capabilities. There you have to use all sorts of workarounds and hacks to try to make something work. If you were, for example, a programmer with Unity at your disposal, you would do it completely differently and much more conveniently.
Maybe it would just work a little bit better if you simply use the usual familiar kind of interaction, like, I don't know, those idle things just lying there on the ground. You walk up to them and that's it, click, click, you collect them, and then they fly somewhere into your inventory or something like that. Then you go to the right spot, like boom, 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 and it unloads there. Just simplify the mechanics for mobile so that the gameplay itself works smoothly.
So if Roblox is still currently tied to the mouse interface, basically because the game was originally designed according to the developer to be used with a mouse device, but on mobile platforms where we don't have that mouse dependency, right, some things can be simplified or streamlined. Am I understanding this correctly, Evgeny?
So, for example, we have this shop here, right? To approach it, to buy something, you have to go up to it, press, hold this hand, yeah? And in general, why not just have things lying on the ground, like, say, a cube or, I don't know, a piece of coal? Let's say it's just lying on the ground like it's done in idle games with shops and so on. You walk up to it, a window pops up asking if you want to buy it, yes or no. After you click buy, the window closes and you show an ad, or even another window appears. So maybe we should do it like that. As soon as you pick it up, it goes straight into your inventory. Not in your hands, you're not carrying it, but directly into your inventory. Now it's there in your inventory. Then you walk up to the train, enter the cabin, and a window pops up, load coal. You go tap, 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 hit load. So you get rid of the hassle with the interface and you end up with a bunch of windows where you can insert ads afterwards.
That's a really good idea.
Maybe we should test it just in case it works.
Rinaz, have you tried something like this before? No, I haven't tried it like that. Let's ask our viewers directly to share their thoughts and write something about it. Has anyone experimented with this kind of format?
Well, look, if you make it so that when you approach an item, it immediately goes into your inventory. Now, because there are items like food, which you need to pick up and eat, but if it goes straight into your inventory, then you have to open your inventory, take it out, and that's extra steps. So you have to press a button or send it to your inventory, or you can drop it, or you can pick it up and eat it.
If your character is feeling hungry, you could display a prompt, for example, something like, your character is very hungry, please eat something now.
Here, if I remember correctly, when you pick up a medkit, I think a button appears in the interface to use that medkit. What I'm getting at is I've already noticed in games the automatic pickup of items and their distribution to the right places. So if you pick up a medkit, it gets saved for you. It's both a button and the place where you gather and collect its resource. If you have something important for your inventory, it goes straight into the inventory. In principle, it's a good idea, and you can refine it further. This already exists.
At the early stages, I feel like there are too few objectives. I mean, if you sit down, let's say, unless you're targeting those users who played Roblox, if you're aiming for a broader audience, then basically there should be more goals and tasks, for example, right now, while we've been talking. There was one thing I didn't understand. It seemed to me that I was almost at the finish line, but for some reason my progress rolled back, I ran out of fuel, and zombies appeared that you could fight, which basically was something missing in the early stages. One interesting thing was I encountered a freeze. I restarted the game and it showed 0%. For some reason the game wouldn't progress, it just wouldn't load. The phone is actually pretty fast. In principle, it probably would have been possible to have Rinaz spawn enemies, maybe after about 5 minutes. Even just staying at the first spawn point would have already been interesting, but I played it for quite a while and didn't see any enemies at all. I reached a location where there were objects scattered around, oddly highlighted. I didn't understand what they were for, some figurines and something else. There seemed to be a tiger. It looked like some kind of animal. I also didn't get what I was supposed to do with it or how to kill it. I tried to put it out with fire, but I was trying to burn it. So you need to look at the original, see what's missing, and improve the usability.
Friends, basically, well, you see, the game is actually quite specific. Essentially, it's almost like a completely brand new genre. Rinaz, you're basically at the very origins of this kind of game, right? But strictly speaking, it's not exactly a sandbox, if you can put it that way. I mean, it is a sandbox, but it's one with an original storyline. But in reality, again, what we see here is a game that, at first glance, really seems to have a rather paradoxical and unusual gameplay, right? I mean, it's not immediately clear to most traditional game designers. Nevertheless, it very clearly looks successful. This strongly suggests that we're now seeing a kind of generational shift among players. Traditional game designers who used to say, no, this won't work, are seeing that it actually does work. And the advertising budgets for this and similar games prove it. If you want to expand and scale your project and publish it, simply go to the Cast.ai website and fill out the publishing form. If you just want to monetize your game, go to the Cast.ai website and fill out the mediation form. On that note, I think we'll wrap up. Thank you all for your valuable time, and thank you for the game. We'll keep analyzing games and offering advice, whether it's asked for or not, just like those so-called bad tips. Thanks a lot, everyone, for being here. Bye-bye.